Today we're going to do formal versus informal communication. This is extremely important, especially for new English learners, because I feel like, I don't know if you've noticed this as well, there is kind of a problem in the distinction between the two. I feel like a lot of people can't tell the difference, and that could kind of get you in trouble when you're in certain situations. Um, so it was very important for us to discuss this today.
Correct. Because I
Right.
think we use it daily, like it's on our tongue, but then sometimes we fail to distinguish between the two, like which one should be the formal one, which one should be the informal one, with whom should we speak, and all.
Exactly, exactly. So if we had to say where would we use formal communication and where would we use informal communication, formal communication is simply, I feel like the first example all of us could think of is in a workspace, like in your office, in your
Yeah.
job, you have to be as formal as possible. Um, Especially with your superiors, with your boss, you need to speak to them in a formal manner because it's someone that you work with. Or another situation where you would be formal is maybe your school with your teachers, your
Hmm.
principal. And I would also say people who you
Any,
don't really know. Yeah, I would
yeah,
say,
any new place, yes.
yeah, or like a stranger as well. Like you're not going to be
Hmm.
very comfortable. Like the instinct is not to be extremely comfortable and cheery when you talk to someone
Correct.
new. We tend to be a little formal. Informal communication would be with your friends, with your family, people that you know, would be sort of informal communication. Yeah. Okay. So, where I feel like the difference between formal and informal communication, why there's a problem, is because when someone's a new English speaker, like they don't really know how to converse.
Hmm.
In a way where they can switch their language like instantly. So I feel like that's where
Yes.
the problem arises, right? So this was,
Correct.
yeah, so this was a bit of an introduction. I think we should dive right into the sentences and examples that me and
Examples.
that we've prepared. So let's start.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
sure.
So the first formal sentence. So guys, what we're doing today is we're basically just going to say formal sentences that are pretty common, and we're going to kind of show you the conversion of that in an informal way or vice versa. So we're going to do both. So the first sentence would be a formal sentence. It's when you say good morning, how are you today? Right? That's a pretty formal
Yes.
sentence. What
Yeah.
would you say? I would like to know from you. What would you say is the informal way of saying this sentence?
I think, coach, in the informal way, I won't tell my friends or family good morning at the first place. I mean, they would be
Yeah,
strange and, why is she saying me good morning? Because we meet every day and
exactly.
that's not how we greet mostly in informal conversation, right? So maybe
Yeah,
to friends, I would say, hi, what's up? Or, yeah, that's can be your
yeah,
opening line.
right. That's actually a perfect answer. To our friends and family, we would say hi, like how are you doing? Like what's up? Like yeah, these days we
Mm,
say what's up. Yeah, and if we said like hi, good morning, how are you today? Like if I said that to my mother or something, she'd look at me and be like,
yeah.
what are you saying? Who are you talking to? So,
What's wrong with
yeah,
her? Yeah.
yeah. So that's exactly the difference between the two forms of communication. And I also think that it really depends on the person, like how they speak. Some people can just be formal in general. Some families, some friend groups, um, they tend to be a little more formal with each other compared to others. But yeah, it really depends. But generally, we
Yes.
aren't that formal with our families, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So the second one is okay. So I would like to ask you this. What would you say is a formal way to apologize? Okay. Before we get into this, why are
Hmm.
apologies? Why are we discussing an apology in the first place? Is because I feel like it's such a integral part of communication because no matter what language you speak, whatever, human beings apologize on a daily basis. It's something that we do
Yeah.
that's very common. So, why is a formal apology and informal apology important? Like, because in both settings, formal and informal, we need to have that, accountability to apologize. So that's why this is an example that, right? So what would you say is a formal way to apologize?
I think it would be like, I would like to apologize for the inconvenience that I've caused because of some action that I've done.
Yes, that's a very good way. Or you could also say, I sincerely apologize, and
Yes.
this will not happen again,
Mm-hmm.
etc. Now, when we apologize to our friends or our family, obviously that's not how we apologize,
Yes.
right? We both can agree on that. I feel like personally, I think there are two ways. I think the first way is very personal, don't you think? Like we
Exactly.
genuinely we pour our hearts out when we apologize. We get into detail. We get really deep with our friends and family. And the other way would just be a little more casual, like, oh, sorry. Like, sorry, like,
Yeah, that's
don't
two
worry,
friends. Yeah.
Yeah, when it's like two friends and it's like a little thing. So yeah, I think that's a very like stark difference between apologies. But don't you agree with me when I say that when we apologize in a workplace, sometimes it could be because it's an obligation? Yeah? Like, don't you think, like, yeah? Like, don't you think we've been in instances where something
Like
is
we
not
are
our fault?
not,
Yeah,
we are not wrong at that place, and still we have to because it's your
it's
duty to.
it's our duty, it's our professional obligation. Like, we have to
Correct.
apologize. So we do that, and even though we don't mean it, like we don't mean to apologize, we still
Exactly.
have to. But one suggestion to everyone is, please, when you're working, when you're in this professional industry, always do take accountability. Definitely, and the way of apologizing also has to be very formal for sure. Okay, guys, just a side note, we're taking questions. We're very open to questions. So if any of the audience members has any questions, please write it down in like the comment section, and we're going to answer them. Like we're here, both of us are here to answer your queries. Yeah. So
Yes.
anyone has any questions, please ask. Okay. Now, so that's the apologizing thing. And yeah, so we don't always feel the need to, we always have to apologize when we're in that formal setting. And I also think that when you're like personally apologizing to someone, you not only talk about like how you're feeling, you talk about how they're feeling, you know? It's
Yes.
like you
Yeah.
talk about what they're feeling, and you have to say like, okay, for an example, I'd say, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you felt that way. I'm so sorry. Like it would be very in
Exactly.
detail compared to a
We
professional
think about the
apology.
person, opposite person, and apologize.
Yeah, yeah, and you apologize. Now so like I'm going to now we'll do a little activity, and I want to see what you think of it. I'm going to give you a sentence, and I want you,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we have one question. Let's just get to that, and then we'll do the next
Yeah.
point. Okay, so okay, it says, when can we be informal with our colleagues? Okay, actually, yeah, that's a very good question. I also want your inputs on this. But this is my
Yes.
input. Yeah, my
Mm-hmm.
input is that I was just going to say this actually. And I was going to explain it through this example. So how about we get to this example and we answer the question because I think it's relevant. Okay.
Yeah, that is
So,
better.
okay. So I have a sentence for you. You have to tell me if it's formal or informal and why you think that. Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if I say to you, do you want to go to the meeting together? Do you want to go to the meeting
Coach,
together? Okay.
Coach, I think it's informal because here the meeting word is, kind of playing with us, but then the word wanna is informal. So
Right.
that says it's an informal sentence.
Right. So what's very important about informal and formal is the fact that um, words play a very big role in whether something's formal or not and informal or not. Spellings like words like wanna, like WANNA, the word, is it's not even correct English, like it's colloquial, like we say it in our
Yes.
conversation. If I gave
Millennial
you,
slang, yeah.
yeah. If I gave you like an English exam and you wrote wanna, the teacher would like,
Give
cancel
you a
it
big
out.
zero.
Big zero.
Yeah.
So, but I understand what you're saying. Like the word meeting, the word meeting can be confusing. So, Abhinav, this is to answer your question. In a workplace, I go to meetings with my colleagues, right? In a workplace, you can be informal with your colleague if you yourself think that there is sort of a friendship or a sort of a
Hmm.
relationship where both of you can kind of relate to each other and talk to each other and have that relationship where you can, you can joke around and you can discuss matters and you can have that personal touch. Otherwise, for formal communication when you're with your boss, etc., you really need to understand the tone you have with them. I think that you can have an informal relationship with your boss as well, like I do with mine. Like we can talk about stuff, and my boss can ask me questions about like, oh, are you okay? Stuff like that
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
aren't very formal, I would say, like textbook formal. So yeah,
Hmm.
I genuinely think that you can have a very informal relationship with your colleague. You yourself have to judge the situation. Like I said, formal and informal communication, I think both of us can agree, it really depends on where you are, what the situation is,
Exactly.
right?
And what
Yeah.
relationship will you have with the other person is
Other
more important.
person, and like
Yeah.
what kind of persons they are as well.
Hmm. Yes.
That's why it's so important. That's why we're talking about it, because there's so many layers to this, you know, uh,
Correct. Yeah.
communication. Yeah. So that was a great example, and that was right. It was an informal sentence, and you got the word right
Hmm.
also, which is very great. I'm so great that everyone's understanding. Okay, so now what is the difference between okay, so something that we do at Alpha Board, which is the company that we are, everyone, whoever needs
Hmm.
help with, by the way, shout out, whoever needs help with communication skills, English skills, please follow Alpha Board. And we have courses. Please DM us for details. We will help you, or we have everything that you need. So we will help you. Anyway, back to the example. Um, back to the example. So we do something called the formal introduction. It's something that we teach at Alpha Board.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, why is an introduction informal and formal? What is the difference? I think this is one of the most important topics. Why do you think this is important? Like, what is your input about a formal and informal introduction?
Um, See, yes, you're right. There's a difference between formal and informal introduction, and it's very important because when we introduce ourselves in front of organizations and formal places, like introducing for an interview, for example, or for a school interview, college interview, anything, it's very important to put ourselves, properly, like how we read out our CV, how we
Yeah.
introduce our qualification, our internships, and all that is very important. And while introducing ourselves in front of family members, it is important because sometimes what happens is in family functions or in any get togethers, we meet some people after a very long time. So there's a chance maybe they don't know us properly or we don't know them. So at that time, informal, just maybe telling our names or, I'm his son, I'm his daughter or something like that.
Yeah,
It's a little, chat is important.
I
That
agree.
goes
I
into
agree.
informal. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like when you introduce yourself, there's
Hmm.
so many things that people, they're like, what can I say? I feel like whenever I ask, for example, at Alpha Board, when we do demo classes, we always say, okay, tell me something about yourself, because the whole point of a demo class is just to understand who the learner is
Hmm.
exactly. And
Correct.
some people are very stuck, they don't know what to say.
Hmm.
And I would say that, and a lot of people also ask me when I speak about informal communication is, why do we need to know how to like introduce ourselves to our family and friends? Like why is that a necessity? And the reason is just the fact that it's not only when you're in an informal situation, it's not only with your family and friends. Like you said, at a get together, when we see
Yeah.
someone, we have to be like, hey, like I'm called, like at a party or a get together, you say, hey, I'm
Hmm.
Koriki, how are you? Nice to meet you. That's informal. Formal, on
Correct.
the other hand, I feel like throughout this live, I've been saying that formal is less detailed than informal. Informal is more
Hmm.
details, more feelings, more everything. But when it comes to an introduction, formal is super detailed, like very important.
Hmm.
Like you said,
Exactly.
is asked in job interviews, and that's super right. And when you're in a job interview, what are you supposed to say? What are you supposed to say? So you're supposed to say, I would suggest saying good morning or good afternoon, good evening, and then saying your
Hmm.
first and last name. Like always, you can't just say, like, for example, like my name is Korki. You have to say your surname. You have to say your status. That's, are you a student? If you're a student, which university do you go to? What course are you in? What year are you in? If you're a employee, where are you working? What is your position? Are you a sales manager? Are you an executive? Like, what is your job? So when, or
Hmm.
what was the position that you were previously working in? So I think an introduction, formal and informal, is one of the most important that you need to understand the difference for sure. Because I feel like that's where people kind of mess up and kind of stutter, you
Correct,
know?
correct.
Yeah. So I think we have another question. Okay. So, so Shalubrata, I'm so sorry for your pronunciation. I
Yeah.
butchered that pronunciation. She said informal with friend, parents, and all who are very close to us, informal where they're exactly. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
exactly
He
it.
has
With our
understood.
friends,
Yeah.
he's understood, which is great. Anyone has any questions, please put it down. We're here to answer comments as well. We will mention them. All right. So another question that I would like to ask you is, what do you think, like when so we've done introduction, what do you think, how would we, what do you think is the main difference between a request formally and informally? What would you say is like the main factor? Because there is a very strong
Hmm.
difference when we request for something, when we ask for something. So what do you think is the
Yeah.
difference?
So maybe I guess if I'm in a formal setup, I would ask, is it okay if I do this? Or is it okay? Can you pass me a pen, maybe, or can you pass me that laptop? Like I
Mm-hmm.
would ask, I would take the permission mostly. Like,
Yes, yes,
please try
yes,
to
yes.
do this for me. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
in that form,
Perfect.
I would request the person.
Yeah. And if we did informal, it would just, we wouldn't, sometimes with our friends, we don't even say like, please, we just say, give it to me. Like, dude, just
Yeah,
give it to me. All of a sudden,
yeah.
your
Just
mom or
do that for
something.
me or give
Yeah.
it to me. Yeah,
Yeah, just serve me food. You know what I mean? But when you're in a formal situation, I would say everybody who's in a job, whatever, always say like, is it okay if you could do this? Could you help me
Hmm.
with this? I would like some help in this. Would be
Yeah.
the best way to communicate formally. 100%. Like that's where, that's how we're supposed to communicate. Okay, there's some questions. Please tell introduction part
Please.
informal. Okay, I'll say it again. Whenever we're introducing ourselves formally, always say like good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is. Always say your first name and your last name, your status. If you're a student, if you're an employee, mention your firm, university, course. Mention, a lot of my students also, when they come for formal introductions, they talk about their parents, what their parents do. My dad does this, my mom does. It's very sweet to hear, but the truth is, when you go for a job interview, they only have so much time. Like, they're not going to sit and listen to you talk about your family members and your parents and all of that. Even though I find it very interesting, I'm like, huh, tell me more. But sadly, like, that's not what they're going to ask for, like in your job interview. So only talk
Yeah.
about yourself, your accomplishments, your interests, what have you been doing the past few years that will help you in your career. So I hope that answers your question. What is present trend of self-introduction? It depends. If it's formal, informal, I just explained formal. Informal, I would say a lot of people have a problem with going and introducing myself, but I would just go, like if you're at a get together, just say, hi, my name's Koriki. If you don't know the other person's name, just say, what is your name? It's nice to meet
Hmm.
you. You know, with school, for example, for me, I just graduated high school. So I always say, which school do you go to? What do you study? So you could say, oh, where do you work if you're working? You know, things like that
Yeah.
could, like, to just start the conversation, and the other person's just gonna reciprocate. For job interview, how to introduce? Okay, yeah, I have answered that. Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. Okay. Um, yeah. So so we finished request. Now,
Yes.
also, I feel like whenever we speak about this, we need to talk about like telephone conversations for sure. I think those are very important, like telephone
Hmm.
conversations. When we're on a telephone conversation, how do you talk to someone when you don't know like who they are, what they look like,
Correct.
right? it's very hard, it's very tricky.
Yes.
So I would say that if you, okay, so I'd ask you this. When you're talking to a friend and you're calling a friend, like how do you say, like how do you even like start the call? Personally, what do you do?
I would just dial the number and start talking, because first here is
You don't even say hello.
voice. Yeah, there's no need to say even hello, because we
Yeah.
can hear each other's voice, and it's pretty, now we know each other's voices. Even if a parent has taken up the phone, then we can understand that, okay, his or her
Yeah.
parent has picked up. But then if the friend has taken up, then we can, just start blabbering and talking whatever we want. So there's
Yeah. And
no
like,
even need for any, greetings like good morning or any other thing.
I feel like sometimes when my friends call me, I just say what?
Yeah,
These days, I just say what? What do you want? Yeah.
exactly.
But
There's one
formally,
question like
yeah. Okay.
how to behave in official.
How to behave in official parties, formal or informal. Okay, so how to behave in an official party, I understand that that can be very no, like nerve-wracking. It's something that makes people nervous, especially when it's an office party. I would say just be professional. And again, when you're at an office party, you can talk about like your job, what you're working on, your office life. But I would also say you could talk to actually form friendships in these office parties. I would suggest talk about your hobbies, talk about your interests. What do you do
Hmm.
outside your work would help. Like a lot of people golf and stuff like that. So you could talk about golfing. Maybe the person that you're talking to has the same interest and you made a friend, you know? So that's how you kind
Yeah,
of convert your professional relationships to kind of personal ones.
personal.
If that, yeah, right? Um, so yeah, like I was saying, when we talk on the phone formally, how do you communicate that? So I would suggest saying like, "Oh, good morning. Is this if you're talking to a company, is this whatever company you're talking to? Is it a good time?" Always ask.
Hmm.
When we're
Exactly.
talking to our friends, we'll be like, "Are you busy? Are you free?" You can't say, "Are you free?" to a client or your boss. You have to say, "Is it a good time to talk?" Um, or something like that, right? Can I have 5 minutes of your time? Can I have 2 minutes of your
Hmm.
time? Is it a good time to talk? That's always a good thing to say when you're talking formally. Um, now, the last two that I'd like to talk about are kind of correlated. The first one is, let's say that you're thanking someone. So, how do you thank formally? What would you say? Like, if you had to thank someone formally for something that they've done for you, what would you say to them?
Mm, yeah, so I would say like I am very thankful for your efforts that you have done for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good,
Um,
yeah, that's a
hmm.
great, yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you for your efforts. Another thing that I think formally that I would say is I appreciate
Yes.
your hard work, right?
Hmm.
I feel like formally, I don't say thank you a lot. I just say, oh, I appreciate this coming on time, whatever. But I think when you're doing it informally, we don't even say thanks. Or we just say, oh, thanks. Or like we don't even say thanks when it's our friends. It's just like, oh, like if they give you a gift, you just be like, oh, this is cute. Like you don't even say
Yeah.
thanks. You can't say this is cute to a client. Do you know what I mean? It's just,
No.
yeah. So that's the difference when you're saying thank you and you're thanking someone formally or informally. And the next last point is when you're saying welcome. How do you say like welcome? Let's say someone says thank you. How do you say welcome to them formally or informally? Like I think I'd just say like my pleasure, you know,
Yeah.
formally. I think my pleasure is the best thing to say. I don't think I'd say you're welcome to a client or a boss. Like, oh, you're welcome. You know, that's a little awkward.
No.
I would suggest everyone who's watching, yeah, I would suggest say, um, my pleasure. Um, and informally, anything. Oh, it's cool. You
Hmm.
know, you can
No
always say, no
worries.
worries.
Yeah, mention not or something like that.
Yeah. You can say stuff like that. And yeah, I think your formal and informal communication is good. Any other questions, guys? Because we're almost at the end of the session. If anyone has questions, we are taking them. We're here to answer them. Anything?
So,
Yeah.
coach, what do you think? Like, how could we learn these different tones of communication? Like, can you suggest any better, like self-tutorial type of thing, which we can do or the audience can do?
Okay, so yeah, this is a very good question. I think for formal communication, obviously now there's so many YouTube videos and there's so many things that can help you. But when it comes to reading material, I think there are so
Hmm.
many sample essays and sample letters, sample emails, and we can read that, and you're going to get a gist of formal communication. Informal, watch movies, watch videos, people talking
Yeah.
to each other, watch English movies and videos, just like to add. And for new learners, please turn on the subtitles. That's the only way you learn. If you don't understand the meaning of a word, please write it down. Keep using it in your everyday communication, and you're just going to get better and better. Okay, there's a question. Okay, there's some questions coming in. Okay. Ma'am,
Yeah.
how do you introduce yourself to your friend, to a friend? Okay, so I think when you need to introduce, I don't think so. When someone is your friend, you don't really need to introduce yourself. I think you mean, how do you say hi to a friend? I think when you just see a friend, you just say, hey, what's going
Hmm.
on? Talk about your feelings. But I get what you're saying. How do you introduce yourself to someone you kind of know, right? Just say your name and just be like, yeah, what's going on? Like, just ask them informally, like, what do you want to know about them? I think just say your name, be like, hi, how are you? And you can ask them what they're doing currently. A lot of friends, they know each other in school in the past, and then they meet like 20 years later, 10 years later. And it's like, how do you talk to that person, right? So you say, hi, how are you? How are your parents? Where are you located right now? Where are you working, etc. Okay, another question. Should we? I think that relationship, um, as a life partner, my idea of talking to your life partner is just completely informal. But again, it really depends on the person, right? There are so many people who are so formal with everyone. It's just how they were raised. So I think it's up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. Again, when it's a relationship, your life partner, it's up to you. It's however both of you, whatever your relationship is, I would say. But I would suggest when it comes to a life partner, just be casual with them. They're your life partner. So I think that's one person you should be completely casual with. But that's
Informal, but yes.
right. Don't you think so?
Yeah. And be real
Yeah.
with, like, sometimes not real.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say like yeah, like I don't want to like a lot of people are very formal and I don't want to like insult them or anything like that. But when you're in a relationship or
Yeah,
when you're with your parents, I think you need to have some of your filters taken away from you and just say what you need to say. You
correct.
know, if we are struggling to speak English, how can I correct it? Okay, first, if you're struggling with English, please follow AlphaBoard, DM us. We have courses, we have a demo class which is free, and we can understand your problem and we can do courses for you and we can teach you English. The way we teach is a very modern approach to English. It's not only like a textbook English, like we're going to teach you how to talk, like in real life, how to do interviews, how to conduct presentations. So that's one. Second, read a lot of English books. Third, there are many techniques. I did a live video full of techniques to improve fluency. So please check that out on the account. Watch a lot of English movies, speak in English, try to talk to everyone in English. Yeah, that's just to summarize it. But I do have a video, so please check that out. I hope I answered your question. Um, okay. Sometimes we are giving the interview in class to students, how to reply in that situation. What is this? What do you think this question? I'm not really understanding the question. What do you think it is? If you had an opinion, like, can you read that question
I
and try to understand? Sometimes we,
am not able to get that question. Yeah, sometimes we are giving an interview in the class to students, how to reply in that situation. I'm not able to understand
is
that
it,
question
does this
actually.
mean that when students are asking you questions? Okay, if you could just repeat your question, we'll just try to understand because I can't understand exactly. I'm so sorry. If you could just ask us in a little different way, we could understand. Ma'am, communication mean is
English.
English. Ma'am, communication mean is. I don't know what that is. I'm so sorry, I don't understand. Which part is the most important in grammar? Okay, I don't think anyone could give you that answer. Grammar is something that is well-rounded in importance. You need to know everything for you to actually form your sentence. You need to know every part of grammar. So I would suggest if there's one thing that you should prioritize when you're learning English is grammar, for sure. Every part of grammar is important. So yeah, that should be your mindset. Every part, everything. I should pay attention to everything.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes we getting panic and how to impress them with new words. Oh, so I guess you're a teacher. So that's the only, correct me if I'm wrong. Just be confident when you're speaking to your students. Don't panic. Remember, like panicking is not the answer. Just be confident. If you don't know what you're saying, take a moment. There are people that I've met who take some time to speak because they think about what they're saying. And I don't think that's wrong. Well, the network gets better. Yes. Okay. I think there was a network issue in the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
We're good now.
We just
Could you
lost
hear
few
me?
words in the no.
You couldn't hear me? Okay, it's fine, it's fine. I hope the live got it though. Okay, whatever. Anyways, continue. So yeah, I would just suggest don't panic, don't worry. No one's judging you. Just take a moment to think about what you're saying and say it. It's fine to take some time. When you're a new speaker, it's fine. I have improved very much. Thank you. That's very great to hear. Um, Thank you. How to reply fluently? I think. How to reply fluently would be to increase your fluency. Like I said, we've done a video. But yeah, to to reply fluently, I think you just need to, your punctuation needs to be good, your pronunciations need to be good, your vocabulary needs to be very good, your grammar just needs to be good. So I think for you to speak fluently, you need to know the basics of English and then have a lot of speaking practice. Good pronunciation is the key to fluency. So definitely that. Grammar is important, extremely important, extremely important. Every time someone asks me a question related to accent, they're like, is accent? I'm like, no, it's not important. But grammar, that's that's very important. But some people are saying during speaking, grammar is not important.
I
Yeah,
think
I think
coach has
something went
lost the
wrong
connect.
again.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Is it my Wi-Fi? I'm not sure.
I
Is
guess
it
so.
me? Okay, okay. Well, okay. Okay. So someone said, but some people are saying during speaking, grammar is not important. That's not true at all. Um, Grammar includes past tense, present tense. It includes basically everything that you're saying. So I definitely think grammar is important, guys. Please don't skip out on grammar. A lot of new learners tell me that it's very annoying also to learn grammar, and I get that. When you're like new to the language, I get it because there's so many rules and there's so many things, like it's complicated, but we have to do it. That's how you become fluent in English. So I think we'll take one last question. Okay, I think we've had a very great live. One last question. Do you
Yes.
provide sessions for other foreign languages? Not yet. Alpha Board right now is focusing on English. So yeah, if you're interested to learn English, we are here to help you.